Life is a highway. You know that song by Tom Cochrane, Life's a Highway and I Can't Drive 55? Well, it has nothing to do with this video except that we got a road ahead, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Gerbil. Welcome back to another video. Thank you for being here. I am not going to read the road ahead to you. You are literate. You are intelligent viewers. I have the utmost respect for you. So I will not be reading it to you line by line. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through it and I'm going to underline and pinpoint some key details in an effort to break down what I think is the most important pieces of the road ahead. And caveat, I might miss something, so please don't troll me if I do. Fundamentally, this road ahead is really interesting. It's the first one we've received since last July, representing 8 months, 2/3 of a year have passed. And while there's not a lot, there is actually a lot in there, including an entire new faction, a new raid, and a really intriguing gift opportunity for your guildmates, where you can wail even harder now for other people. Let's get started. Hey, before we actually do look at the road ahead though, there's an undertone of comments all throughout it that now have me wondering, is the next Galactic Legend ship going to be the Trade Federation, and is it going to be a droid control center? Because I think it might be. Anyway, we'll get back to that. Nute Gunray could very much be the next flag leader. I'll explain this here in a little bit. Actually, no, let's just hit this right now. Because Nute Gunray is a very undergeared character relative to the sum of the Separatists. Remember, gear is how Capital Games makes money. And with the recent introduction of the STAP droid, that fills a 5th spot. I mean, IG has to be there, B1 has to be there, B2 has to be there, GG is your leader. So it's always been kind of like, do you run with Nute or do you run with Droideka? Well, with the Droideka Omicron in Territory Wars, it's de facto Droideka. There's no question about that. And now the question is STAP better or is Nute better? And that is yet to be determined, I think. But that doesn't leave much incentive for a Nute Gunray Relic 9, does it? Or 10, heaven forbid. Unless, with this road ahead being all about the Phantom Menace, and who do we see very early in the Phantom Menace? Nute Gunray. And what's our focus? Droids, which you're going to talk about here in just a second. So let's do it, shall we? So here we go. Here's the road ahead. Screenshot. I'm going to scroll through it nonetheless. And the things I underline in yellow are what I think are the most important. The red is stuff that makes me kind of pause and question and worry a little bit. So on right below me here is a list basically summarizing all the new stuff. If you just want to stop the video there, you can pat yourself on the back. That's what's new. But please don't. Stick with me. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I would appreciate it. So what do we got happening here? What do we got? Well, okay. Like I said, I'm not going to read this. So the year going forward is going to focus at this moment. They say the start of the year is going to focus on the Phantom Menace. It is the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. If you have been a subscriber of my channel, you know this. I've talked about it a lot over the last year as we've been building up to it. And yes, we are finally getting Jar Jar Binks. Whether you love the character or hate the character, he is finally coming to the game. If you hate the character, then let me give you some piece of thought. You're gonna get to smash and kill him over and over and over and over and over again for the next lifetime of game time, whatever. So Jar Jar is coming to the game. Personally, I think it's a good thing. I think that we need a little bit more comedy entertainment in this game, and Jar Jar might actually do that with some wacky mechanics. Hopefully, like he applies Confuse to your own team. That would be funny. But they preface this road ahead at the very start with a red underline here that anything in the road ahead is subject to change. Likewise, throughout the road ahead, if you do read it line for line, that phrasing is in here a lot. Not the exact wording, but iterations thereof, saying that we are in the early stages of testing. We have not fully mapped out. We are still exploring our options. The kit is still in development. In other words, they don't have almost anything solidified, but they're pointing us in the general direction they're going. So take everything in this road ahead with a grain of salt. All right, let's move on. So next up, the inspiration. We're getting a new zone, a new planet in the Rise of the Empire, and it is inspired from Rebels, despite it will be Mandalorian faction focused. So they said expect Bo-Katan Mandalore, who's popped up 3 times recently, seemingly on a monthly cadence, which is pretty cool. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, who was, I do believe, our previous Conquest character, and a Sabrine Wren. Cool, right? So I would love to see some more Sabrine love in the game. I think anything that gets our old Phoenix up and off the shelves like Captain Rex was a fabulous addition. I love the Phoenix squad, but I don't see Mandalore Rebels. There is some interaction, of course, in the Rebel series, but this line about inspiration from Star Wars Rebels really makes me curious what they mean by that. They don't really explain it. What they say doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you're a Rebels fan, and I love the Rebel series, then this should give you a little pause for like head scratch moment. Nonetheless, it looks like if you are in a high tier guild and that like requires and expects you to hit all these bonus planets, then you can't sleep on the latest shinies, Mandalore, Bo-Katan, and Dark Trooper Moff Gideon anymore. Yep, sorry. Moving on. Phantom Menace Episode 1. Like we said, it's coming. It is also going to be the site of the next raid. That's right. We've gone from the Krayt Dragon on Tatooine to the Endor speeder chase on the Forest Moon of Endor. Next up, we are on Naboo. They said that we will be battling against endless waves of droids. It says, quote, battle for Naboo against waves of battle droids with no end in sight. Dear God, what I hope that is not is a B-1 battle droid with an infinity sign over his head and you just shoot forever. That's going to be very boring. At the same time, it also makes me immediately pause and wonder if it's going to be like the Endor raid, where you kill a couple droids and new ones show up. Because in Endor, we have endless waves of troopers, and this actually gives me a little moment of sadness in that it makes me question if CG is running out of ideas. I mean, does this mean that eventually we're going to get like Attack of the Clones raid, where we battle against endless ranks of clone troopers with infinity signs above their heads or whatever? I hope not. I hope that they have more creativity in their repertoire of ideas. Anyway, focus on this raid. It says gear up your Gungans, who will give you the best chance of survival, i.e. maximum points. So similar to how Jabba the Hutt for Hutt Cartel and Gia Leia for Endor Raid, Jar Jar Binks and the yet unreleased faction of Gungans is going to be our best score potential. Of course, this continues the trend that raid and access to the guild, the raid token Mark III is all a factor of your ability to farm the latest and greatest, just like that Rise of the Empire with Dark Trooper Moff Gideon and Bo-Katan Mandalore. It's all about maintaining the latest and greatest. So when's the raid coming? They're aiming for summertime, but again, I didn't underline it in red. I should have. It says we will keep you folks posted, because again, they don't know exactly, right? It says their initial target date. So it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I think that it will very likely happen around June, July, sometime second quarter of this year. Moving right along, what is it? This road ahead includes a whole lot of commentary from the developers, and they ask, what was it like working on the raid? There's nothing insightful there unless you just enjoy reading what they say. It's a bunch of not really pat yourself on the back, but explorations of feelings and excitement, which is great. It builds some energy and emotion, but that's all it is. It's not really insight for us. So moving on, what are some characters, factions that may be required for this raid? Again, while the raid is still in production and nothing is finalized, right? Everything is subject to change. They are specifically calling out Galactic Republic, Jedi. I've been talking about Jedi for over a year as being the theme of 2024, along with Separatists and droids. And of course, the new Gungan faction. So Gungans with Jar Jar, once again, will give you the best opportunity for score. So what Galactic Republic, what Jedi are we likely to see? Well, Jedi Council, obviously Qui-Gon Jinn, and a Padawan Kenobi that we don't have in the game. Otherwise, Jedi Council that I've talked about a lot for the last year. So I expect fully to see that. Separatists, I fully expect to see Nute Gunray as a character for this raid. All of the droids, B1, B2, STAP, 100% STAP is going to be a power unit in this upcoming raid. I have no doubt about that. Just like Drogon. Well, Drogon really wasn't, was he? Ironically, the indoor raid is the easiest raid I think we've ever had. I mean, seriously, if you chased Leia, then you had Chirpa, you had Nisa, you had Wicket, and all three of them have evasive maneuvers, and then you had to get Akbar, and Akbar has evasive maneuvers. And hey, I digress. Let's move on, shall we? But Jedi, notably the most recent Jedi we got is Calrissian Beck, who I think is going to be a playable unit for this. While he was not, as far as I can recall, in the Phantom Menace at all. I expect 100% to see him there. I also would not be surprised to see, like I said, the other council members like Kayada Mundi, Imagundi, Eth Koth, Grandmaster Yoda, and then we're going to get to it in a moment, but there's some newbies coming that I think that obviously will be included in there. So who are the Gungans we're going to get? So we are definitely getting Jar Jar Binks. They've made no secret about that. That's the big headline here, but we're also getting Boss Nass, who looks like a toad and not a Gungan to me, unless there's like two different kind of Gungan species. Like, he's a totally different color and his shape is completely different. I've never really thought about that till just now, kind of. Anyway, so Boss Nass, who will be the leader of the squad, most likely. Captain Tarples, who was the guy with the really, really cool headpieces riding on that other, like, tall ostrich-like animal in the movie. He's going to be an attacker. A Gungan Bombardier, which I love the play on words there, right? Instead of Bombardier, it's a Bombardier, who will also be an attacker. And then a Gungan Phalanx. Now, I have heard a lot of YouTubers already call this a phalanx and all kinds of other pronunciations. Please hit Google, type in how to pronounce Phalanx, and it is a phalanx, right? It will play the sound for you. It'll hit it for you. Now, of course, if you're from a different part of the world, you may have a different accent, but in good old standard American, it should be pronounced a phalanx. All right, y'all got that? Okay, moving right along. Jar Jar Binks is the star of this, mostly the star of this road ahead. He's going to be a support unit, and I am going to go ahead and read this part because it's interesting. It says, who isn't afraid to interject into the battle and offer his own, how should we say this, brand of help. Confounding the enemy. I think it would be a lot more interesting if it like confounded your allies, and whatever debuff he applies to your allies, despite it registering as a debuff, you obtain the opposite results. Or like for every debuff on your enemy, you gain your allies, you gain a particular stack. So for example, he puts confused stacks on your allies, but for each stack of confused, they gain 100% offense or something, right? Like, that would be so cool. That would just be fun, right? How many debuffs can you build on your own team with a Jar Jar? I think that would be great. It doesn't sound like that's the direction they're going. Whatever. Kit reveals and how to obtain these characters will be provided in their usual cadence, which means that if they're aiming for a June-July raid launch, then all of these characters have to be in the game sometime by mid-May. And when you look at historical timelines of like how the Inquisitors were launched, how Bo-Katan's Entourage was launched for that epic competition, how Galactic Legend Marquees are launched, it's typically one a month. That means we should get a February, a March, an April, and a May, allowing you then to unlock Jar Jar Binks. And how do you unlock him? You have to have the other 4 Gungans. You're going to need all 4 Gungans to get Jar Jar Binks. So I'm expecting that we're going to get one of these Gungans, if not next, or if not this month, absolutely early March, March, April, May, and then see, that puts us into June already, which is like crunching up against their deadline. So I do expect to see a Gungan imminently. So let's talk about Queen Amidala, who's another headliner from this one. She will be a future Conquest Chase character, just like Dark Trooper Moff Gideon was. So that means you're going to want to red crate as much as possible if you are a big fan of the Phantom Menace and Padme and Queen Amidala. She will also be accompanied by 2, count it, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, do. I can't do any other languages. I. Galactic Republic faction characters. So they say, while we don't, again, I should have underlined that in red, while we don't have full details ready to share, subject to change, they're saying that they will be iconic. And by iconic, that if they're really going to stick to that word iconic, there's honestly not a lot of Galactic Republic characters in Phantom Menace other than Jedi Council, right? We didn't have clone troopers yet. They weren't introduced until later in the franchise series. So no clone troopers. So it's pretty much limiting to politicians and Galactic Council, Jedi Council members, right? So like it could be like C.O. Bibble, Chancellor Valorum, but council members could be Yaddle. But if I were to put some money on it, and I'm not going to do that, it's going to be Captain Panaka, if I'm saying his name right, who was a really, really cool character, I think, who doesn't get a lot of recognition these days. I really enjoyed his character, actually as minimal as it was in the show. And then who I really am hopeful for, despite having many Kenobis already, I would love to get a Padawan Kenobi with synergies with Qui-Gon Jinn and Queen Amidala. I think that'd be awesome. If they're sticking truly to Galactic Republic, then it's not going to be a baby Anakin, right? And it's not going to be Sebulba, and it's not going to be Watto. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. What is Queen Amidala? Amadeus, right? That's whatever. She's going to introduce a new mechanic, decoy. Basically, she's going to summon a decoy unit who has a permatant, just like how like Dark Trooper Moff Gideon summons a Dark Trooper. Yeah. Huh. Again, almost a lack of creativity there. Two big name characters back to back having the same mechanic, essentially. We'll have to see where that one goes, folks. I'm hoping it'll be really different. Nonetheless, she's going to have an Omicron for GAC, which is fantastic. And she will also have a solid raid utility. Once again, get this latest and greatest shiny for the latest and greatest raid if you want to keep getting those raid Mark III tokens. And you do, because that's the best way to get, honestly, arrow magnifiers and the battle computers for your Relic 8-9s. Makes me want to cringe a little bit. The summon unit, permatant, when summon unit is defeated, bottom line here on the screen, the queen gets to take a bonus turn, gains a gnarly locked buff, and inflicts an enemy with something nasty. See how vague it is? It's really vague. It does say that she is going to take advantage of mechanics, though, that are seldomly applied in the game, or rather buffs that are really rare and obscure in the game. And I was like racking my head trying to think of what that is, and it's kind of a struggle. That's because they're rare in the game. So I'm hoping it's not anything like, like evasion up, like on Cheerio, because like they still don't evade. Unless you got a Datacron. Okay, so also in this road ahead was a new ability to spend money. Oh boy, we get to spend even more money. Not just on yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, but on people you may not know. Actually, I think this is a good thing, though. I think this is a fantastically good thing. What it is they're creating in the store. These are just mock-ups. Again, they point out these are all mock-ups. It says below you'll find a few images from our prototype builds. But what it is the ability to buy and gift packs and bundles to people in your guild. And I have not announced this to my guild yet, but straight up, I'm going to be doing this as an incentive within my guild. Every month, I plan to offer a pack to a random recipient who achieves certain goals, like in the raid. Maybe you hit 10 million damage in the raid, then I will randomly draw a name and I will gift them something. I don't know what this is going to look like, right? And hey, guild members, yes, that could be you, but caveat, if like the minimum gift purchase is $30 or $20 like that, $20 I got no problem with. $30 I'm going to reconsider this. But realistically, I think there would be crystal gifts and things in there, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. That I just want to help my guild out, and I know there are other people that have done this for their guilds, so this is a really, really, really awesome way to help build your team's roster, because honestly what helps your guild helps you. It really is true. It really is. So it's a really cool thing. thing, right? Go to the gift area, you know, pick the pack, pick a guild member, buy it, and then it pops up in their inbox, and then they can claim it, and it's like, woo, free stuff. That's great. I'm also hoping my guild will, you know, all 49 other members will reciprocate, you know, and send me Queen Amidala bundles when it happens, and Gungan bundles. Yeah, I'm looking at all you folks. I am. I'm looking at every single one of you. You know who you are. I'm not going to give you all shout outs right now because it would take too long to name all 49 of you, right? Please send me gifts. Anyway. The rest of the road ahead is, again, a whole lot more commentary. You can read it as you want. There is one thing here from C.G. Miller that got my attention, though. He says, Episode 1 content, namely Naboo and Gungans, with featured spotlight on the one and only Jar Jar Binks. If you couple that with fending off a massive horde of Trade Federation battle droids, notice how he calls out Trade Federation battle droids for Naboo raid. We have a very exciting start to 2024, which means the second half of 2024 may not be about the Phantom Menace, right? It's a start for the year. I expect second half of the year, July and beyond, to absolutely shift focus into something else. They're not going to spend a whole year on this celebration. But the point about the Trade Federation, again, makes me think of the Federation blockade. Because if you really stop and you think about it, there were 2 battles of Naboo, really. I mean, there were 2 actual battles, and then there was the incursion into the you know, the capital city buildings and whatnot. But the battles were the blockade and running it, right? And that ends up with little Anakin blowing up the Trade Federation ship. And if that is in the second movie, then forgive me. I haven't watched these prequels in so long. That's like high on my agenda now. Should have watched that before this, but no time. And then we got the raid, which is going to represent the ground battle of the Gungans versus the invading droid army. So it would make complete sense to me that the raid focuses on the Gungans versus droid army, while the Galactic ship, legendary ship for 2024, is the droid control ship. It just makes sense. It makes way too much sense. And of course, the driver, the fleet commander for that would have to be logically Nute Gunray. But again, I mean, this could be bounty hunters with Executor or Darth Revan with Leviathan. They could put Trench there. Who knows? We'll see. But interesting comment there. With regards to CG Coffee, he says, I'm excited we're getting Jar Jar Binks to the game, as are a lot of people. I have no doubt. I actually am. I think that's a great addition. I love niche factions. Prepare to see Gungan videos on my channel very soon. I do Jawa videos. I've done Tusken videos. You know I love my Ewoks. I love the path less traveled. I love the niche focused areas of the game. I think they're a lot of fun, so I'm actually excited to get this. Final thoughts. Let's wrap up this stuff. New faction, new Galactic Republic units, new Rise of the Empire zone, new raid. What does this mean? It means to horde. If you want to maintain the same level you have today for the first half of 2024 going forward when we hit that new raid. Chirotechs in particular. Oh my goodness, it was on a previous screen. Bad Batch needed 2,000 Chirotechs. Grand Inquisitor squad, to unlock him, you need 2,500, or to get 13 him, you need 2,500 Chirotechs. Lord Vader needs like 3,300 Chirotechs. Right, if each of the 5 Gungans coming to the game need 400 Chirotechs, then that means you need 2,000 Chirotechs between now and next raid. I looked at my inventory, I've got about 600. I will be hoarding that. Hoarding. I will be hoarding Gear 12 finishing pieces. I will be hoarding my crystals. I will hit my daily 600. I will not be refreshing things between now and then. Beyond that, that's it. That is my single most important advice I can give you right now. If you want to play these guys and you want to do it with minimal cost, minimal whaling, then hoard every crystal you can between now and the next raid. And of course, if you don't care about Gungans and you don't care about the next raid, then ignore all this. Folks, I hope this was a helpful, informative, slightly different take on the road ahead. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please smash the like and the sub, and I will catch you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.